Can voluntary repatriation work?
We'll have to look at what's meant by voluntary. I know at first blush, voluntary and compulsory seem to be perfectly straightforward, simple expressions opposite the one to the other. But let me just ask one question. Suppose it were decided that those who had dependents still abroad could not claim tax relief on their behalf. Now, no doubt, that change, an administrative change which would bring our tax law into line with that of many other countries, would greatly stimulate the propensity to accept assistance with repatriation.
Persuasion?
Now, I see. So you regard that as voluntary?
Persuasion, I put
see.
to you.
So that's voluntary. You class that as voluntary?
Well, persuasion or intimidation?
Well, you tell me. I want to know what you mean by voluntary. And I've given you an example of a government policy which would undoubtedly increase the propensity to accept assisted repatriation. Now, is that to be classed as voluntary repatriation?
No, I would term that as an inducement to accept.
And you regard that as voluntary?
No.
You asked me whether I have in mind voluntary or compulsory. And therefore I must know what it is that you regard as voluntary. Now I want you to tell me whether that would be voluntary repatriation.
No, I would think that would be intimidation.
Oh, I see. So any policy which does not place every inducement before those who are here to remain here is, in your opinion, compulsory repatriation.
Well, what is your motivation for bringing in such legislation? Why are you suggesting that that should happen?
I'm suggesting it because if it is public policy that in order to avert evils which threaten all, including the immigrants, the prospective future size of the immigrant population shall be reduced, then the government would, in such matters as taxation, naturally and logically behave not on the assumption that this is a population permanently domiciled here, but that it is a population only temporarily domiciled here. And I gave you an example of it. And therefore, I'm pointing out that to talk about voluntary and compulsory as though they were single alternatives, monolithic alternatives, is nonsense.
Many of you reached out to me after my last video, especially a few of my English liberal and ANCAP friends, expressing your disapproval of certain parts of my video presentation, which you should totally see, by the way, till the end. It's worth the slog. It's linked here. I was told that many of the suggestions I made, especially regarding what you called community snitching, were immoral and somehow in violation of the NAP. One of you even said my proposal of offering criminals expulsion from the country instead of prison time violated the spirit of liberty and justice for all. I'm not going to name names, and I don't want to argue. I just want to point this out to hopefully prove you wrong, but in a constructive way, so you can see the value of voluntary action versus involuntary action. Suppose you owned a nice dinner theater, and for 40 years your family helped support the local arts as well as providing a pleasant place for adults of the community to socialize. However, in the recent years, a government housing project bought up a few homes and put in welfare-assisted low-rent housing blocks. Now your otherwise lovely establishment has a problem of unsupervised youths playing around your property, stealing things, breaking into cars in the parking area, or vandalizing the walls of your building. Of course you can make police reports, but we all know how that goes these days. You can also try being forceful with the kids. Going to the housing project, having a stern talking to with the parents, assuming you can even find them, or if they even have parents, and putting up a fence around your parking area. Sure, these might have a positive effect, but these actions require negative emotions, conflict, and using a mix of police force and parental force. I'm sure most of you remember what it's like being young. Our own experiences with youth tell us that juveniles respond poorly to authoritarian force, especially wayward youths from broken homes, welfare-based families, etc. I would instead offer voluntary solutions to ending the bothersome youth issues. Problems with graffiti and other exterior vandalism? Well, how about building a cheap wall around your parking area, maybe one of cinder blocks? Put a single base color on it, white or gray, and either put up signs, or better yet, speak directly to the wayward youth themselves. Let them know that you like their creativity and would enjoy seeing it more if it was on this new wall. You could even let them know that it's why you built the wall. If this is well received, perhaps even start spending time with the youth yourself, helping them make art on the walls. Before you know it, perhaps those pesky wayward youth might learn some constructive skills of teamwork. You could even witness to them about Jesus if you want while you're doing that. Perhaps you could spread your own ethical and moral values to these needy youngsters in the process. And then word would spread around the community of the good works that you've done. People would talk about your graffiti wall around your parking area that you've built, and that would even be good press for you. Maybe you could even get new investors, expand your business. Alternatively, maybe some of these youths simply have nowhere to go, no one who cares for them. You could offer them alternatives to your establishment. You could network with the proprietors of your place. Some of them might lead youth groups at the local church. Maybe some of them could use a young lad to help do chores around the house or mow their lawn. You could even direct these youths to local positive community, like the aforementioned church groups, local establishments specifically for young people like skate parks, sport clubs, or community centers. Nothing about this is a guarantee, of course, but I firmly believe that offering people, especially young people, things that they would enjoy, providing incentives in other words, would not only have a decent chance of removing the people that you want removed from the area, but would send a positive message around the removal instead of a negative one. It could get others to follow suit willingly. A voluntary movement, you might say. And who knows, in the process, you might even do some good for the world. I hope you all enjoyed another installment of Yizz Talks. As always, please share my video. That's the best way that you can help my channel grow, is just letting others know that I make content and sharing it with them directly through social media. Remember to subscribe if you haven't, and definitely tell me your thoughts in the comments below so we can discuss what you think about this. So until next time, peace and profits.